My name's Flynn DeMarco, and this is Richard Board, and we built this piece together, and it's called Treasure of the Snake Queen. The story starts here at the bottom of the mock and goes all the way up the side of the mountain and finishes with an epic battle with the Snake Queen in the top tower room. So we running it with two EV3s, and there's an Arduino microcontroller to do the sounds and lights. So let's go ahead and start the show.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So here our adventurers are going through the happy village at the bottom of the mountain, and they leave with a wizard waving goodbye to them. And they go into the forest, and now they're going to go through the spooky spider forest. A fantasy classic.
I love the armor and the minifig accessories.
Oh, thanks. And then, now they're in the slimy cave with the slime monsters and the slime ghosts. And now they're going to take a trip through the spooky crypt. And now they finally left the crypt and they can start in the castle. And here they are, their little dragon battle here. You know, we used all the tropes.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
We wanted it to seem familiar and, fairy tale-like. And then now, of course, we have the battle with the Snake Queen. And she turns into a skeleton. And that's the end.
And they have all the treasure there, yeah.
And they got the treasure of the Snake Queen.
There you go. That's incredible with all those moving parts. So if you can maybe just break it down for us kind of level by level and how this idea came together and then how the build kind of came together for you.
Sure. Well, after last year, when we found out the theme was animation, we really wanted to do something that would move, obviously. But we also wanted to combine animations, like classic animation stuff. And we're both big fans of high fantasy. So we wanted to create a story. And like I said, we did use all the kind of the tropes, but I think it's what makes it seem familiar and recognizable to people. Like they can pick that out. They don't have to think too hard to follow the story, right? Like it can just, it can happen. So here we have, it's a 9-volt track. You can see the 9-volt train. And we were able to connect the 9-volt train to the EV3 and control the motor of the train through that. And then these little guys walking are actually connected to the 9-volt train with a power functions motor. So whenever the train goes, they also go. Then these two conveyor belts are connected together so that they always stay in sync. So they're connected by a chain and they run the same. And then this is a third conveyor belt that's run with a sensor. We have multiple sensors inside, so once this thing completes, there's an ultrasonic sensor that reads when the characters come around, and then it starts this section. And then we have another ultrasonic sensor that starts the top. And here we have this the turntable that holds our party, and we have our dragons on a swing arm. And then for the top turntable, it's actually one large turntable powered by round rat gears, the ones they used in the bucket excavator. It's like a 4-piece yellow round. 2 of those sandwiched together with a motor to run it. And then there are 2 smaller turntables inside the larger turntable that gives us the Snake Queen battle at the end.
Yeah, that's amazing. So was there a lot of experimenting involved in getting all the moving parts to work out as you moved up with the build?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that was one of the reasons we ended up kind of hooking these 2 treadmills together, was just in an attempt to make sure it was always going to be in sync. And, the programming can sometimes be a little finicky. So there was a lot of trial and error and trying to figure out, okay, how do we get the timing to work out so that everything's going to be synced, especially when you're talking about 3 completely separate brains, which is what we're doing here. We tried daisy chaining the EV3s together, but didn't have a lot of success with that. So we decided just to add a couple extra sensors and use it. And so the 2 EV3s are complete separate entities from each other. And one controls the bottom up to here, and then the second one controls this whole top area.
Gotcha. So then talk a little bit more about what the structure of this is like, because you've got to incorporate obviously all the mountain and the cliffs and everything with all those moving parts. So how did that come together?
So we built a structure out of Technic. and we just started building a skin on it. We put everything on. We made sure and use to leave lots of outward-facing studs so that we'd be able to stick plates on there. And everything was really just sort of like we cobbled it together and then said, okay, how can we cover the spaces where, so we didn't. I have to say we didn't put a lot of like forethought into how exactly it would all go together. We just kind of said, okay, here's these two things, let's make them hook up. So.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it turned out great, and I love the whole look of it with the outward-facing cliff pieces and everything.
Oh, thanks.
And then the castle looks amazing as well. So was there any particular kind of castle inspiration for that, or was it just kind of make something that you thought fit well with the overall scene?
A little of both. We were definitely heavily inspired by Maleficent's castle from Sleeping Beauty. That was a big inspiration. And we also just looked at a lot of drawings and paintings of scary castles. And we went with the classic Disney villain colors of green and purple and black. Again, we were trying to evoke thoughts and emotions from people, which is why we chose the music that we chose as well. We wanted music that would speak to people and make them feel a certain way when they saw everything coming by, and I think Peter and the Wolf is so great for that. And also we used Night on Bald Mountain, which was used in Fantasia, which was another heavily big influence for us. And then the Carmina Burana at the end, because we decided we needed whatever the most dramatic piece of classical music we could find, and that was certainly it.
Well, the whole scene turned out perfect. When you bring this to a show, what's set up like for you guys and getting this to all work together?
Well, this is the first time we've brought it anywhere, and it was a bit of a difficult process. I think we would probably, I think our plan is to, once we're done here, to get it home and start thinking about how we could improve its modularity. I don't know if that's a word, but in our ability to be able to take it apart and move it. But this is actually comes apart in 4 pieces. So these side walls here, and this front area here are 3 separate pieces. The whole top of this comes off, and that's a separate piece. And then it comes down to a 3x3 base plate square, which is fortunately able to fit in our car.
That's always an important detail.
Yes, I mean we were driving with our knees in our faces, but it was we got it here. So, and then just to wanted to talk a little bit about some of the art stuff. We both come from theater backgrounds, so we used a lot of old theater tricks and theme park tricks, in here, and we decided we kind of wanted to do this light side, dark side kind of opposite thing. And we thought a lot about color palettes and how how those would affect the way the things look. So everything here on the light side is like tan and brown and green, and then we sort of went for an afternoon-y sort of palette here, and then a nighttime palette over here with dark greens and dark grays and oranges. And we tried to be pretty meticulous about not using certain colors in certain places.
Right, yeah, and it all, like you said, it kind of all adds to that scene then, and with the music and then the movement, it all adds up to create a really nice scene for people to stand here and watch. What have the reactions been of the public so far?
Oh, they seem to be very delighted and surprised, I think, because they just come by and they're like, oh, this is really cool, and they take pictures, and I'm like, you want to see the show? And they're like, there's a show? And, we give them the show, and I think probably the most surprising for people is that the upper room turns around and that there's the big snake back there. They don't expect it. So I always like standing here and watching people's faces, and all of a sudden their eyes get really big and they smile, and yeah, it's really, it's been wonderful. Yeah, and especially seeing the kids really, really are excited by it, which is great.
Well, it's very impressive. I really appreciate you taking the time to put this together and to bring it out to the show. Thank you so much for chatting with me about it.
Yeah, thank you.